Steam just removed a bunch of degenerate games off of its store page, and will take measures to ensure that other games like them don't come back. Good stuff, am I right? So then I ask, why are people saying that this was a bad move? Well, much like your love life, it's complicated. Let me explain. Steam removing games is nothing new. Valve does this all the time. And the games in question are, well, at best, not safe for work, and at worst, contain very illegal content. So on the surface, this is a no-brainer. GG, easy win. Open and shut case, am I right? And normally I would say yes, but let's just say that Steam and Valve didn't do this choice in isolation. There were outside influences, let's say. You see, recently, Steam had some changes regarding the rules as to what games can or can't be on their platform. And recently, they added a brand new rule, basically allowing third-party entities to influence the online store. And more specifically, political groups and financial institutions, aka banks. And these guys ain't your friends. Now, obviously, Steam is owned by Valve, and ultimately it should be up to them as to what they will or will not allow on their platform. Valve has always been a very hands-off type of company. They've always been rather relaxed when it comes to their policies, for better and for worse. But because of this change, the final say isn't up to Valve anymore. It's up to the vampires, the leeches, the fine fellows over at the bank, and their squeaky clean, innocent associates who obviously have your best interests in mind. On a serious note, removing these games from Steam is good, obviously, but it's the principle that's the issue here. This is a classic case of doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. Hey Valve, here's your foot. Here's a gun. You know where to shoot. So because of this change, if you have enough money and you're a big enough group, corporation, or company, you can influence this online store. That's right, the bank repossessing your possessions wasn't enough. They're coming for your games now as well. And to think that there were people actually against the Stop Killing Games movement. Fucking dumbasses. Let me be absolutely clear. These games that were removed were absolute dog shit. I am not defending any of these games. I doubt any sane person would be sad about their removal. Because, personally speaking, in the era of free porn, I never understood the appeal of porn games that you would have to pay for. Come on, your mom's house is right there. Sure, these groups will remove shitty sex games that they don't like now, but these porn games are the lowest hanging fruit. There's nothing stopping these corporations and ultra-conservative groups, I'll get into those in just a bit, from targeting other actual good games. What happens when a bank doesn't like how Payday glorifies bank robberies? Banned. How about in Watch Dogs when you can hack ATMs and steal money? Banned. You see what I mean? They can remove the degenerate Gooner games now, but what about in the future? What about the GTAs, the Cyberpunks, the Baldur's Gates? Hell, some of these groups will probably see Minecraft having anti-religious themes since you literally can go to hell in that game. There's gonna be no end in sight. And keep in mind, all of this shit with the banks and the corporations coming in and swinging their weight around on Steam didn't happen because some old fart in his CEO penthouse decided that he wanted to destroy some shitty porn games on a game store that he has no idea even exists. The reason that all of these big banks and corporations were pulled into Steam's business was because of a conservative group called Collective Shout. They started a campaign trying to pressure governments and big corporations to essentially push their ideologies. In other words, a bunch of pearl-clutching conservatives campaigned so banks and other financial institutions would force Steam and Valve to do their bidding. Collective Shout actually has quite the history. They tried to have the Australian government stop Snoop Dogg and Eminem from entering Australia. They tried to have GTA 5 and Detroit Become Human removed from stores as well. I think their end goal is to remove any sort of conflict or negativity in any game. If in a game two characters are having a mild disagreement, in their eyes, that could be grounds for a ban. To them, any form of violence or promiscuity has no place in games. And to me, that's where I just absolutely draw the line. And before I move on to my next topic, I need to talk about something that I hope would not need to be brought up, but I think I'm gonna have to anyway, just because I think some people might get the wrong impression about me for opposing Collective Shout. I do not oppose their message. Maybe some of their more specific goals I might be iffy on, but their overall general goal is a good one, and I wholeheartedly support that. I oppose the objectification and sexualization of women. They're absolutely correct about the pornification of culture. In this, we agree. There's other aspects about their movement that I might not necessarily wholeheartedly agree with, but the overall goal is a good one. But in a weird inverse of what I said earlier, they're doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. So, I really need to stress this because I want to make sure I'm covering all my bases. I, for the most part, agree with the message. I agree with what they're fighting for. I just disagree with their methods. Okay, are we good? Are we clear on that? Okay, cool. Because, my god, this organization is just... I'll tell you, man, this organization, they do be doing. I'll just say that. I'm fairly confident when I say that I view video games as art, and this is an opinion held by many people. Allow me to make a comparison. The Birth of Venus and a random hentai drawing. These two pieces of art inherently have the same DNA, even though, obviously, most people will prefer one over the other. I'll leave it to you to decide which piece of art I'm talking about. And video games are no different. Obviously, I'll prefer playing Elden Ring over these Gooner games any day of the week, but to these old farts, I don't think they're gonna see a difference between these two games, legitimately. These people aren't gamers. They don't have our best interests in mind. They don't even know what an Ethernet cable is. Banks and political groups should have absolutely no say in an online digital storefront. The rich and powerful, or those who want to be rich and powerful, are working against us. Why, you might ask? Well, simple. They don't want you to see boobies in games anymore, duh. Am I making a mountain out of an anthill here? Maybe, but I think most of you might agree that maybe I'm not. Remember, these are the types of people who back in the day were saying that Doom and video games in general were responsible for violent tendencies and school shootings. They don't know where themes, story, gameplay mechanics end and their ideologies begin. They see anything that doesn't match their worldview as something to oppose and destroy, and that includes our beloved video games. Just recently, a game I very much enjoy, Ready or Not, has been impacted by this. When the game was readying for its console release, it had a lot of its more dark aspects watered down. Now, admittedly, I don't know who decided this. If it was the console companies, a third-party group, or maybe even the developers themselves. I don't know. But this game, Ready or Not, is now a lesser version of itself. And keep in mind, this was the tiniest breadcrumb of censorship. They changed next to nothing. They basically gave some nude characters underwear, and I guess toned down the violence in certain levels. And guess what? The fans really did not like that. Either all censorship is okay, or none of it is, and people never want things to be censored, especially when it's something they enjoy, and especially if it's something that people see as art. I'll end this video by saying this. I try my best to not have my political views be known on this channel. I don't want to get into that. I come in here to talk about things that I enjoy, not things that make me feel sad or worried or anxious. However, given the rather precarious state of the world and politics right now, censorship in any form is one thing I am absolutely against. We've seen it time and time again in history, and now it's happening to something as relatively harmless as video games. You know, just about a month ago or so, we had to deal with greedy corporations and politicians when it came to the Stop Killing Games initiative. We're not even done with that yet. And now banks and political censorship groups are readying themselves as the next boss fight down the road after we're finished with this. It's just a lot, man. It's just a lot. But to end things on a slightly more positive note, I don't know how Valve deals with banks, but it would be really funny if these banks found out that Valve has an infinite money glitch that's called Counter-Strike skins. And it would be really funny if the banks decided to start taxing Valve even more for these virtual skins. So, you know, hypothetical consolation prize, I guess. And as a fun or morbid piece of trivia, all of this was coming out at the same time as reports that Gaben is semi-retired and spends most of his day just scuba diving now. So, you know, funny how the universe works. Does this mean no more Half-Life 3? At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. But what do you think, Internet Wanderer? Do you agree with the changes being done here? I'm sure a lot of you will agree that removing these degenerate games off of Steam was a good thing, but at what cost? Comment your thoughts down below. That's going to be it for me, Internet Wanderer. Thanks for watching. Do the YouTube things.